Hey there, welcome to day 41 of our BU 365 day challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and today we are talking about the A in our soAp framework, and we are doing it with respect to the emotional area and aspect of our life. Remember, we've talked about our emotional stories, what our current story is, what we want it to be. We've talked about options. Yesterday we brainstormed options, and I'll share a few of mine today with you as we go through the A in our framework, which stands for action. But before we can take action, we have to have a way to analyze the alternatives, the things that we have brainstormed from yesterday, right? So we've come up with a bunch of options. I actually came up with 20. Pretty proud of myself. Got a list of 20 today. And I circled the three that I want to compare and talk about so I can decide what action am I going to take immediately. Now, when it comes to our emotions, there's a few things we want to keep in mind. Number one, we don't want to suppress or eliminate any of our emotions. We want to make it really hard to feel the negative emotions, and we want to make it easy to feel the upward spiral positive emotions, right? And I'll share a trick, I think tomorrow, about how to do that and make it even easier on an ongoing basis. But I want to make sure that we are letting our emotions roll through us. We want to regulate and kind of control them a little bit and decide how we want to respond to them, but we don't want to ignore or suppress any of them. We are really emotional, multi-level human beings, and we need all of our emotions. We feel fear to keep us safe, right? So we don't want to absolutely positively eliminate fear. If a tiger or a bear is chasing me at the park, I want to run. I don't like running these days because of my box, but I want to make sure that I still have that fight and flight mentality when I actually need it. Now, I don't want to use that. I don't want to trigger that fear mentality when it comes to something like my business or work or a conversation or stepping out of my comfort zone, because I'm really not in that kind of physical danger that I need fight or flight and fear. So I want to make sure that I'm applying the appropriate emotion to the appropriate situation, and that I'm automatically experiencing the appropriate emotion, or the emotion I choose and the feelings I choose in the individual situations. So we want to remember, we got to feel all our emotions. We don't want to totally, cut ourselves off from them, like pain, right? Pain to me, now I'm a chronic pain person, so I've had chronic pain in different ways, shapes, and forms throughout my entire life, right? Ever since I was a little kid, I had, I'd get in accidents or do things and I'd get hurt, and so physical pain has been something that I needed to learn from and deal with. Now, we don't want to 100% eliminate pain, because pain is an indication that there is something off with our body or our life. Like when I get a headache or a migraine, I don't get it for no reason. There's a reason that I'm getting a headache or a migraine these days. I used to get headaches and migraines all the time, like debilitating ones. But now I've realized that when I first noticed one coming on, I got to pay attention to what's going on around me and what's happening, because there's a reason. Maybe it's something I ate. Maybe it's something that I drank. Maybe it's a stressful situation that I don't want to deal with. But whatever it is, I want to identify that, and pain is a trigger. It's a signal that something is off. So we don't want to totally eliminate it, but we do want to regulate them. We want to accept all of our emotions. Again, we are human beings, and human beings feel the whole spectrum of emotions. And one of the things that I learned to do a long time ago is keep a journal like this, a mood journal, where you learn about, and I just do it all the time. I always have a journal going where I'm always learning about myself, and I don't keep a separate mood journal anymore or a separate gratitude journal. I merged them all together into one multi-purpose journal these days. It's same with my schedule, my to-dos and things like that. It's all merged into one notebook at a time, one document at a time. But part of that is my moods and my feelings and my emotions and what I'm learning and how I'm handling them. So I had picked irritation from the actually frustration, irritation, and impatience, because I noticed I've been more impatient and more not irritation. Yeah, irritation, I think it is. Yeah, irritation, impatience, and frustration. They all have the same vibration. Now, I pretty much eliminated frustration by changing my definition of it a long time ago. And it's now automatic for me. It takes a lot more for me to get frustrated, but I still get really easily irritated or impatient. I am definitely an impatient person. So what are some ways I can go from being this impatient person that overreacts or reacts or responds too quickly automatically to somebody that's more in control of my emotions and the situation, and it takes a lot more for me to get impatient. Well, some of the things on my brainstormed list, I'm gonna grab my magnifying glass, were, change my physiology, change my definition of irritation and impatience, just like I did with frustration. So that was one of my other 3 that I chose. And then the other one is something called the 2-day habit changer. I've got to come up with a better name for this, but it's basically the philosophy of you commit to yourself that you're going to do something for 2 days. So and so those were my 3 alternatives. So of these alternatives, how am I going to decide? Because they're all pretty different, right? Change my physiology, change my definitions, and the 2-day commitment. Those are 3 really different alternatives, right? So how can I decide what am I going to do? I need to have a tool to choose among diverse alternatives. It's like comparing apples to apples. Well, or apples to apples. We want to compare apples to apples, but these 3 things aren't apples to apples. They're more like apples to oranges or apples to lemons. So how do we compare them when they're not really easily comparable? And I'll share a bunch of tools throughout this challenge throughout the year, but I'm gonna do my favorite, most simple one today, and that is the plus or minus tool. Now, I used to have a graphic for this, and I didn't grab it. I don't know that I still do, but let me take a peek. I probably do. For the plus or minus tool, it's very simple, and I don't have one. So you know what? We're going to do it right now. We are going to grab a piece of paper. All you do is in a notebook or anywhere, grab a piece of paper, grab a napkin, grab a Kleenex if you've got something that will write on a Kleenex. Just what's my decision or choice? And you don't have to put that on top, but I'm like, reduce irritation, I want, or reduce impatience. That's my problem. And then I'm comparing alternative 1, alternative 2, and alternative 3. 1 was physiology. I'm not writing backwards, sorry. 1 was the 2-day commitment, and the other one was change definition. This is a little symbol for change I learned in, I don't know, probably high school or college, but instead of writing out the whole word change, I would just do the little triangle because it's a symbol for change. And it made note-taking easier. I used to take notes in both English and German because whatever word was shorter, I would use that word in my notes. So people would ask to borrow my notes for classes, and they'd be like, what the heck do these say? And so I'd have to translate sometimes. So change definition. So how do I compare these? Well, I just put a plus on one side and a minus on the other side of the paper, the column. And then I write down what are all the positive reasons to change and advantages to changing my physiology. And then what are all the negative things about changing my physiology? Well, I got to remember to do it. I have to, and then positive, it's quick, easy, and one of the fastest ways to change how we feel about something. Changing the definition, again, well, I got to spend the time and energy writing out and changing or thinking about my definition and what I want it to be. And a positive is, again, it's a really, really effective way to make long-term lasting change for my definition and the way I experience certain situations. And then number 3, the plus or minuses of the 2-day commitment. Well, it's going to take me 2 days, right? I'm going to have to do it and practice it for 2 days. That can be positive or negative. I guarantee that if you do this for 2 days and commit to doing it for 2 days, it will make a huge difference in your life, in whatever emotion that you want to feel or don't want to feel. I guarantee that. Okay, so we just use the plus or minus tool to choose among alternatives. Now I already decided what I am going to do is I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to change my definition of irritation as well as impatience. I'm going to create a new definition for each of those for myself. And I'll probably review my frustration one too, since they're all the same level on the emotional guidance system. And after that, I'm going to immediately take action by committing for 2 days, for the next 2 days, applying my new definition and see how I feel at the end of 2 days. And if I like the application of my new definition, I will continue for another 2 days. If I don't, I'm going to tweak my definitions and then I will commit to doing something else for another 2 days. Maybe I will try to adopt those new definitions, or maybe I'll decide that I want to try changing my physiology whenever I'm triggered, either in an impatient or an irritated way. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask in the comments below. So your action item today is to look at the 3 things that you shared yesterday as possible options to filling the gap from your current situation to your desired situation. Your story you're telling yourself about your emotion and the emotion that you're working on. And pick those 3 and then just run through the plus or minus tool and then share in the comments below one action that you're going to take today. One action that you're committed to putting in place and trying today, right? Doesn't mean it's going to be the be all and the end all of changing this emotion for you or how you respond to this emotion. It just means you're going to get started today. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. And of course, we are going to hop into the P of our emotions, and we are going to wrap this up and find a way to make this automatic and just ingrained in you from now on so that your emotions aren't a problem. And tomorrow I will share the actually secret weapon that I use now to creating and getting the emotions that I want automatically and making it impossible to feel the things I don't want to feel, unless it's something like pain or fear that I need to know, that my conscious knows I need to know in order to take action on that particular emotion. All right. Any questions? Hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. Have fun with this. Plus or minus is the easiest decision-making tool that I can think of. All right. Catch you tomorrow.